Hello and welcome to Bristol Sport TV's new series, Meet the Boss. Well, whilst we're all living life in lockdown, we thought it would be a good opportunity to take a bit of a closer look at some of our sponsors and partners and find out how they got involved with our sporting group. Also discover how they're coping with the current crisis, but also how sport has become a key part of their business offering. Well, I'm pleased to say that this week joining me is the Managing Director of Bristol-based Heat Recruitment, Steve Preston. Steve, welcome to you. Good to see you.
Hiya.
You've been involved with the sporting group, with Bristol Bears particularly. I think it's been a couple of years now, because of course you joined them at the very start of their journey of the new rebrand from Bristol Rugby to the Bristol Bears.
That's correct. Yeah, it's been a good journey for us, because obviously getting on board at that point where the rebrand happened was fantastic for the business, and also it sort of aligned with how we were as a business, because we'd been through a rebrand ourselves like about a year beforehand. So we understand how important rebranding and getting a unity within the whole staffing force was so valuable to us as a business, and also getting part of Bristol Bears and seeing how they were going to unfold with their coming, the season that unfolded from there. It was a bit of a mixed decision, because some people were for it and some were sort of against, the Bristol Bears name. So it was trying to convince everyone at the beginning was a tough gig. But 3 years on now, everybody's firmly bought into it, and it's a real motivator for our staff.
Yeah, I mean, of course, brand and brand identity is such a key part of business and culture. And it is a big step, isn't it, to decide to go in a new direction. For you guys, Heat Recruitment had been established for a number of years, I think 15 years or so. What was it that made you think, right, we need to change the outward facing statement of the company?
I think the main bit was, when the company was first set up, obviously it was set up by myself, and then the company over that period of time, had grown and completely sort of, even though it had the same sort of approach to business and the same customer care that we've always set out to do from the beginning, the people within the business have evolved. So we thought to keep the sort of culture and the values current and topical, it meant that we needed to readdress the overall branding and what we were putting out as a sort of business out to the sort of wider market. So the rebranding came around originally looking at simple things, such as the Heat Recruitment logo, which we obviously had that redesigned, pretty similar to how the Bears have now got the Bears logo, which is so familiar to everyone in Bristol and in the world of rugby. We made a logo that's more recognizable, easier for print as well. A lot of different things that came into it, but it meant that the current workforce bought into it more, because they were the people that created the values that we now have, and the mission statement and the general culture that we operate at Heat now.
Yeah, well, you touched on it there, that you started the business, 15 years or so ago, and it was quite a way to start a business in terms of, I think you started it in your back garden, in a log cabin.
That's quite right. Yes, yeah, I imported it from Lithuania. 2 days building it, because it was flat packed with my brother and a friend, and then we fitted it out as an office, and there was 6 of us working from it, which was bizarre times. We would find ourselves using the pool table for business meetings, the L-shaped sofa in my conservatory for one-to-ones. The kitchen was converted for bacon sarnies on a Friday, and then the fire pit for barbecues on a Friday afternoon. So it was just fully adapting the house to become an office as such. So great times.
Yeah, well, the hardest thing often with that kind of thing is drawing a line where business ends and your home life starts, which all of us can relate to at this current moment.
Yeah, completely. It was, although the commute to work was very easy. That was the best bit. It was a quick stroll down the garden, and I was in work, so it was always shorts and flip-flops for me.
Yeah, you've got slightly a longer commute now, though. Of course, Heat Recruitment's expanded to, I think, nearly 174, 75 staff, and you're in Bristol, in central Bristol.
That's quite right. Yeah, we're in One Castle Park, centre of Bristol, and we're actually, as we speak, we're in the process of expanding and moving from the third floor down to the first floor, which is taking us from sort of 5,000 square feet to 7,000 square feet. So that will give us capacity to grow further. And exciting times. It's in the fit out at the moment. So we're waiting for that to be completed, and then we'll be on the move again. We're sort of every
Yeah.
3 years we tend to move.
3-year itch. Yeah, well, you've got
Yeah,
plenty of
yeah, yeah.
experience with the flat pack furniture, so at least you can fill the office with that. Well, that culture that you've had from the very start of working hard, but also making sure the work was fun, that sat at the heart of Heat Recruitment.
Completely, and that's literally is actually the first of the values of the company. We've got five main values, and the first value being fun. So that's there's no. We take the approach, if you're going to spend 40 hours, 50 hours a week at work, it's got to be primarily fun. You've got to enjoy it. We don't want people coming to work, looking gloomy and not enjoying what they're doing. So for us, that sort of started off the values that people are actually saying, working at Heat is fun. So, and then it led on to the other values of passion, integrity, partnership, and excellence. So all sort of bringing us back to that sort of getting involved with Bristol sport, because the values and the culture is something that Pat Lamb's really worked hard at to create a really strong and winning team, which is pretty much mirrors what we're trying to do at Heat.
Well, I know you were a rugby fan before you got involved with Bristol Rugby as it was then, but it was quite a big decision to nail your colours to the mast, if you like, and go with the new rebrand of Bristol Bears and get properly involved with sports sponsorship.
Very much so. I mean, firstly, you got the obviously the financial element of it, which you've got to try and convince others, because within business you've always got options of where you spend your monies. So it's very much, where do we spend these? Where do we invest? And with the varying sort of in our sector, different job boards that you can buy into, it was quite a challenge to sort of say to people that actually sport does bring brand awareness, it does bring recognition, and it was the right time for us with the rebrand to get on board and take pretty much a leap of faith and sort of say, do you know what, this is going to work. It's not something that I throughout the process I never thought, Steve Lansdown's done a fantastic job with Bristol Sport, and I generally thought, well, if he's getting involved in this, it's going to work. It's for us, the decision was something that we didn't take lightly, but at the same time, it was quite an easier decision to do because we sort of had belief that the club was going to go from strength to strength. So getting involved was, and it's been a real joy as well. It's been real good fun being involved. Seeing the brand on the shirt is fantastic. Watching the fans walk around with with the shirts on, pre-match beers, whatever, and looking and seeing your company on the shirt is fantastic. And it literally lifted the sort of the morale within the office when we announced it. People was literally so proud to be sort of saying actually they work for this company that is part of the sponsoring of the Bears.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, you've talked about the return on investment there of, the actual cost involved of getting involved in sports sponsorship, but actually, I guess the employee side of it as well. I mean, recruitment companies traditionally have quite a young workforce, and it's about retaining good people. Have you found that has been a positive being involved for your staff as well?
Completely. I think the fact that when people come for their first interviews, when they first arrive, they've already got an awareness of the business. They already turn around and, the number of times people say, oh yeah, no, I've already seen the logo on the shirts. I've seen your involvement. Is fantastic. It raises raises your game a little bit to sort of say, look, we're serious about what we're doing. We are putting ourselves out there. We're trying to build the brand bigger, get greater awareness. So from that point, it's great. It's also brilliant because we've had many staff go up to watch the team training. So I've been doing a training camp in the morning, and that's just brilliant from inspiring the guys what's needed to make a winning team, leadership qualities, and just the way that it's structured in such a sort of professional but still without it in a fun environment. They still, the guys have fun whilst they're training and working hard at it, and that's exactly what we want within our business. So it's got a lot of similarities in the way that the two setups work.
And you talk about leadership qualities there. I think, I'm right in thinking you spent a number of years in the armed forces, and it's not easy, obviously, when you're in a war zone, but in terms of telling people what you're doing, how you're doing, there tends to be a line of command that you follow. Whereas, how did you find that adjustment going from sort of the forces environment to a corporate commercial world environment?
Yeah, I mean, that was tough, because I suppose before I'd even sort of went to my, the first company I went to was a sort of FTSE 100 recruitment company. So, and at that point, I'd never been inside an office. So it was a very strange environment to sort of say you're now at a desk all day long rather than outdoors enjoying that sort of a bit of fresh air that you get. And also the way that you've got to manage is completely different. It's quite easy to manage 60 sort of blokes when you can just make them all front support players, do press ups and go down that route. It's a lot easier when you've got that I suppose rank in place. Whereas obviously coming into the business world is a completely different environment, because you're not spending every day together, you're not living together like you do in the military when you're away. So people have completely different agendas, different views on things. So it's a lot more bringing in the listening skills, and making sure that you sort of taking everything on board, rather than, I suppose, the military side is very much there's a clear mission of what you're up to and what you're doing or what you're training for, and everybody just cracks on with it straight away. Whereas there can be a variety of things that are going on within a business.
Do you think that prior life and your experiences has helped you cope with the current crisis?
Yeah, I mean, we really work on, teamwork, team spirit is huge. Is making sure that we're encouraging and not discouraging people. So that's massive. The well-being side of the business. I mean, we were the first recruitment agency to get well-being charter status as part of Public Health England. So it's quite core to me that if you look after people, they'll perform well and equally give their best. Sort of one volunteer is better than 10 pressed men, as they say. So it's very much taking that military element, really taking sort of the good things from the military, the discipline it gives you, the motivation, the drive that you need. You need that in business constantly. Everyone needs that to succeed. But you also, one thing you get if you take from the military is, no matter what, whether it's Army, Royal Marines, Air Force, whatever, they've all got their culture, and that's what keeps them together, and that's what keeps them sort of proud to be the people they are. And that's very much the same with business. If you get a good culture, and I believe that now, businesses are built very much these days on culture. Maybe 20 years, 30 years ago, it was down to good old hard work and maybe a bit of a thrashing every now and then, but generally, I think nowadays it's a culture that people look at. It's how, what's the reputation of that business? How is the culture? Do people seem to enjoy that business and their day's work? So we focus on that quite a lot.
Heat recruitment, you've managed to get people working remotely from home, and I guess there are some sectors that you're dealing with that perhaps will recover perhaps quicker than others.
We anticipate sort of manufacturing and engineering to start up, and the cranes in Bristol to start working again. So the engineering side is definitely an area that we think will be kick-started first. Additionally, though, we've got sort of areas such as sort of legal, financial services, where those people are able to work from home, and there's a lot more home working coming in that area as well. And we can't overlook the fact that IT, digital and tech that we have is it's far more needed now than ever. Everything's running through all these various digital platforms, and we're all coming to terms with video conferencing. And I think that's going to be something that we'll see a huge change in the way that people adopt sort of video calls and conference calls. We're seeing it now, especially with first stage interviews, whereas in the past people would be having to book a day off, travel to wherever the site is, whereas now that can be conducted to actually get that initial first feel of, is this gonna, is that applicant going to be called forward to the second stage? So that's where we're seeing a sort of a change within the world of recruitment.
Well, yes, that's probably just one change in a whole host of new working methods that are evolving. For you, you were a PTI with the Marines, and it's evident that sport has played a huge part in your working life.
I've always loved sport. Sport to me is, it's fantastic. It's just great to be part of it, get involved, partake in sport, watch sport. As a PTI when I was in the Marines, so the fitness instructing is something that's always been key, and I'm very much missing my sport at the moment, actually. People that have got sporting backgrounds tend to fare well anyway. They do pretty good in the industry. They're used to, if they're committed to their sport, they're used to dedicating their time, getting up early, getting their training sessions in, being competitive. All those factors and all those elements that we need in a good consultant is exactly what you find in sport. So and equally you get the other elements such as sort of sportsmanship, you get the fair play element, you get the teamwork, and I think all that is everything that you're looking for within not just our world of recruitment, but you're looking for it just generally within a business. You want people to adopt those values. So I think sport aligns very, very nicely to what we do.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard them talk a lot. Pat and Lee Johnson have talked a lot about how they share best practice across the group and with different sectors, different areas as well. What are some of the little insights that you've gained, obviously going up to the Bears training ground and stuff? Is there anything particular that you've taken from those moments that you've thought, oh, I can use that in a business context?
I like the way the very much so that Pat sort of has the he brings in the fun element to actually what is the practical requirements. That's great. Also the sort of the team camaraderie, but at the same point he has his little points awarding for different teams as well. So there's a little bit of competitiveness that he's sort of throwing in the mix as well. So not only is he uniting everyone together, he's then sort of saying, yeah, but let's compete as well, which is fantastic. And it is very much, it's he's got that work hard, play hard. So it's very much sort of, everybody's expected to put their all in, but in return, he looks after everyone. So that's it. Those sort of elements are fantastic. The fact that everyone gets to have a voice is pretty good as well. I think that he's always listening to what people are saying. So I think that is very key, because you don't know who's going to come up with the next best idea. So it's always a listening moment.
Obviously, Heat has been tremendously successful over the how much you've grown over the last few years, and now in your involvement with professional sports. But you've also remained very involved with grassroots level sport.
Well, that's where we sort of started off. Really, we got involved, just doing sort of a bit of community involvement with local sides. With a mixture of sports, really. We sort of sponsored 3 cricket clubs, so we're involved with Bedminster, Barragurney, and Claverham Cricket. And on the rugby front, we've got Bristol Harlequins. So they're sort of one of the local based sides that we've been quite heavily involved with, and equally a couple of the junior football sides, which include obviously Brislington and Bristol Rovers. There, I had to say that quickly.
You can say it slowly as well. We don't mind. All encompassing. We love all
I better get that.
As any parent, you're juggling the demands of full-time job and some sporting commitments as well. And I think you guys are interested in basketball as well. You haven't managed quite to get down there.
No, I haven't. I keep wanting to get down to the games to see the Flyers, but they tend to clash with other sort of commitments as well. But the people quite a few from Heat have actually gone to the games, and they've all literally been, I suppose, almost overwhelmed at how enjoyable it was. I think they're sort of went thinking, okay, it's going to be a basketball game, but didn't realise how much fun it's been. So the feedback's been brilliant, which is sort of becoming infectious to people wanting to go.
Certainly that atmosphere at Wise Arena is incredible when that cauldron gets going with sort of 700 odd fans in there. I can thoroughly recommend it. We'll get you down for that one. Of course, with the basketball, it's almost like the sleeping giant, isn't it? Because you'll be well aware with the plans next door to build them a home here at BS3.
That's going to be fantastic. I think that when that work sort of underway and when it's completed, it'll be it'll really put that whole area, just on the UK map. I mean, it is at the moment, but it'll be a great sporting sort of just overall sporting venue. I think it'd be brilliant and introduce a lot of sports to people that, as I say, I haven't been to a basketball match, so I'm quite looking forward to going to one. So it'd be great that it introduced a variety of sports to people that sort of wouldn't normally watch those sports.
Yeah. Here to the moment where we can come watch a Bears game in the afternoon and then stroll across the brook, across Marina Dolman Way, and go in and watch a basketball game in the evening. Talking
I'll be there all weekend.
Yeah, that's our plan, just to keep you here all weekend.
Yeah.
Of course, talking about new training facilities, the Bears training ground up at Fayland. I think you've been up there, or at least seen some of the video updates.
Yes, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic venue. Really good. So that'll be, once that's in full flight as well, that's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, we cannot wait to have everyone back here. Well, it's been great talking to you, Steve. Thanks very much for sharing some of the insights with us, and stay safe, and we look forward to getting you back here to Ashton Gate as soon as possible.
Many thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Well, that's it from Meet the Boss for this week. Hope you've enjoyed the programme and hearing from Steve Preston and Heat Recruitment. Do make sure you subscribe to our social channels so you're across all the very latest breaking news from across our sporting group, and you'll be the first to hear of when sport will be returning here to Ashton Gate. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well.